Hi everybody, I'm back again. I'm sorry it's been such a long time, but I've been busy working on quite a large book, quite a long book, which is called Aliens, the Strange Truth. Most people are interested in aliens, and this book deals with the different types of aliens. Now, before I talk about it too much, by the way, when I finish talking about this new book, I've got a thing to read to you about the different blood types that we have. Blonde-haired people, brown-haired people, all the different sorts of people and why they're there. Anyway, let's get back to this book. It's called Aliens, the Strange Truth, and you can find it on our site, which is www.thegreatwhitebrotherhood, all one word, .org, O-R-G, /books/. I'll repeat it, although I'll put it in the description below this video. It's www.thegreatwhitebrotherhood.org /books/. Now, this book is quite a long book. It's 60,000 words long, which means it's about the size of a novel. Okay, and at the moment it's only in PDF format, and I'll explain why in a moment. Now, this book is going to upset a lot of people because it actually says that aliens, of which there's two types, never appear in physical form. Only their little robots that they send, the little grey robots, or the mantis things, which are also robots. The true aliens never appear in physicality. And it explains why. But there's two types. The first type is the one that the American military work with, and they are apparently actually a demonic force from the lower fourth dimension that work through their little robots with military people. And as their demons are basically controlling the little robots, perhaps not the best sort of people to work with. The other type, the true aliens, which are basically nice people, I won't even attempt to describe. You'll need to read the book to understand, because they're not sort of people as we know it. But the book explains it all. Now, I won't say much more because this book is so complicated, and not only talks about aliens, it talks about all sorts of different things, but it's so complicated. And this second group of aliens that I can't really describe to you at the moment, you need to read the book to understand. It's so weird that it would be pointless in me trying to talk to you about it. Please read the book, okay? So, now, we've only published it on that site as a PDF file at the moment because the Great White Brotherhood, who give me all this stuff, realised that there's going to be a number of questions about the book. And they ask you, if you've got any questions, please put your questions on the thing underneath the video, where you can write questions, or send them directly to us or whatever. And the Great White Brotherhood will do their best to answer, and we'll create a question and answer file, which we'll put as an addenda at the end of the book on the PDF file. And once that's done, then we will have the whole book complete with the question and answer section printed as a proper book, which you can buy if you want. Okay, so I'll stop there and I will go on to talk about these different types of blood groups. Once again, this comes from the Great White Brotherhood, and it drags on a little bit, but it's only a page and a half long. Okay, let's start. It's called Blood Types. There have been a lot of myths spread over many years concerning different types of blood groups and their relationship, or not, to various spiritual beings, kings, and particularly Egyptian pharaohs. The question is, of course, is there any truth in this? Now, the question is not easy to answer, as the history of human population is long, complicated, further complicated by the various earth changes that have regularly wiped out huge numbers of people, forcing earth humans to start again in many areas and spread to repopulate the land that had been left bereft of life due to these catastrophes. Now, bereft means everybody wiped out, or virtually everybody wiped out. There's always a few survivors. So it happened that when there was an extermination level event, an ELE, those who lived on high land, mountainous areas, had a better chance of surviving and also found themselves isolated and thus bred amongst themselves, whereas those that had survived in low lands just had to make do with any partner they could find amongst the individuals wandering about, the few survivors. So, if it happened that on highland areas, people with a specific type of blood interbred, that blood group would proliferate, whereas those breeding with people of chance encounters would finish with more of a mixture. The subject is further complicated, as we have gone to great lengths to explain, by archon entities influencing psychotic humans to create exclusive groups, kings, queens, emperors, pharaohs, and so on. Now, the blood type of any group of rulers was not of any great significance, as they came from the wandering groups that had survived the latest extermination level event. The importance was that as these people had lost virtually everything in an ELE and had to scavenge, fight, and kill to survive, they became more and more egocentric, selfish, and eventually psychotic in their desire to survive at all costs. These people, with the aid of the archons, became rulers and still rule and control in many countries and in many domains of life, politics, religion, finance, etc. But it just so happened that in some mountainous areas, life was a little easier, so people turned to and developed spirituality above and beyond those living in the plain types of land, the flat lands that had been ravaged by tsunamis and things. Now, because of the harsh winter conditions in highland areas of the world, by the law of natural selection, people of a certain type of blood group, which gave more robust bodies, able to survive in cold climates, developed and through interbreeding were able to proliferate. Thus we had two basic types of humans: those who lived in low lands that developed a mixed type of blood, some of whom were helped into positions of I'll say that again. Some of whom were helped into positions of control, and those that lived in higher areas that interbred amongst themselves and, by the law of natural selection, gave them a different type of blood, and hence red hair or blonde hair, blue, green or hazel eyes, fair-skinned as opposed to darker skin, brown eyes and dark hair of low-lying land peoples. Come here, you. As these people had the opportunity to develop spirituality more than the peoples of the plains, when the second group seized control, they did their best to get rid of the spiritual people to force through their less than spiritual religious beliefs. So they instigated witch hunts, and anyone with red hair, light-coloured eyes, etc., could be accused of being a witch or a wizard and could be killed, often in terrible ways. The object was, and still is in many areas, to get rid of anyone who opposes Archon-based religious doctrines. Nowadays, of course, in many countries, interbreeding amongst various groups happens all the time and is of less consequence, but has given rise to all sorts of myths and legends about angels, saints, and holy people having red or blonde hair and light-coloured eyes, and the blood types that promote that appearance. In fact, spirituality is now open to virtually all, regardless of blood type, skin, hair, or eye colour. On the subject of blue blood, royal blue blood, that is also a myth. It became a custom long ago for people of so-called noble birth to marry amongst themselves, because what was and is actually happening is that it is easy to brainwash and control a small group of people, so the custom was formed of marriage between members of the same families. That group of people had been specifically trained to be under the influence of archons and reptilians, and thus to push forward that agenda with which we are all familiar. However, as many of these groups are now discovering, marriage between very small groups tend to promote illness, either physical or mental, which has resulted in problems, and so, reluctantly, they are being obliged to allow others of less than noble birth into their families. Okay, now I'll leave that for you to digest. Okay, now I want just to go back and repeat. We've got this new book out. It's a long book and it's very controversial, and it's called Aliens, and subtitled The Strange Truth. Aliens, The Strange Truth, and you can find it and read it or download it for free on our site www.thegreatwhitebrotherhood.org/books/. And don't forget, if you have any questions about the book, please write in and we'll get the Great White Brotherhood to reply, and we'll put the whole lot in a question and answer section, an addenda at the end of the actual book, and then we'll get the whole thing printed. Okay, now before I go, I would just like to say a quick thanks to Guy and to Scott, who have been working to reply to many of your questions, thus leaving me free to get these books. This one is number 5 in the series, I believe, and it's not going to be the last one. There will be others as well. Okay, so I thank you for listening to me. I hope you read this book. I know it will upset a few people, but I can't alter that. I can only write down what the Great White Brotherhood tell me, and you either believe it or you don't. Okay, but thank you very much for listening, and I hope it won't be too long before I come back again with another video. Okay, bye.